20s, the state fair, any big state fair, always concluded by a big car championship race. The trappings never changed. There was a pace car, blazing speed. However, in those days, those incredible daredevils did it in the dirt. And the pole sitters had names like Shaw and Horn and Milwaukee's own Carl Marchese. Today, the Flying Hawaiian, Danny and Gaius, leads a new generation to the starting line at the Wisconsin State Fair, the only state fair that still concludes with a major United States Auto Club Championship car race. Hello, I'm Ken Squire, and we're ready for event number 12 on the USAC Trail, the Milwaukee 200, in the memory of the great Tony Bettenhausen. With me is David Hobbs and Brock Yates. The controversy that we saw start in Texas is still gathering storm, and let's listen to Brock Yates as to what's happening there.
Well, Ken, you know, even in the best of times, the USAC pits, where I'll spend the afternoon, is full of frayed tempers and angry folks, but it's a little even worse than normal today. It's a question of the haves versus the have-nots. The haves have the Cosworth V8s. The have-nots have the venerable old Offenhauser four-cylinder engines. That contingent is unhappy. The United States Auto Club Competition Committee is making some attempt to equalize the competition. I know you're going to explain that in the course of the show, but at this point, things are not all sweetness and light down here in the pits.
Four-cylinder one here for the first time in 1934. Wilbur Shaw was the driver. Well, Obbs, what about the race?
Well, Squire, as we've seen already on the pole is Danny Gaius for the 6th time out of those 12 races this year, and for his 4th new qualifying record at a shattering hair under 135 miles an hour around this 1 mile oval. However, he's not up there alone. Right alongside him is Tom Sneaver, currently leading the point standings and last year's champion. Right behind him is Rick Mears in the other Roger Penske car, and right behind him is Gordon Johncock, a very surprising position in view of Gordon's outspoken comments regarding the effectiveness of his four-cylinder engine. But I think we'll see him doing a good, strong show today, and Danny, of course, trying to get back in winner's circle.
And you're going to see it all live here on CBS.
United States Auto Club. Fran Overstreet is here today, located outside of Gate 2 of the grandstand.
Races, gentlemen, your engines.
There is the commander.
Live from the Wisconsin State Fair Park Speedway, a CBS Sports Special, the Milwaukee 200. Sponsored by CarQuest. We know what you mean when you're talking auto parts. The 1700 J.C. Penney stores coast to coast and the catalog. And by Schlitz. Beer makes it good, Schlitz makes it great.
From El Paso to Cheyenne, the West was wild once, and sometimes it still is.
Beer makes it good.
There's just one Schlitz.
Today have to be the best to meet the test in the competition. And you can buy the same top-quality name brands for your car at your CarQuest Auto Parts store at money-saving prices.
The pole sitter for this 200-mile, 100-lap event is Danny Gaius, who qualified at a new record, breaking his own old mark by 3/100ths of a second. Earlier, we asked Danny Gaius how important the pole position would be here at Milwaukee today.
Well, I think it helps everybody. It makes you feel good. All of the folks that I worked with did their job, and I was able to do mine well enough so that we will have a good starting position. And it counts for an awful lot at the start of the race, going in feeling that way.
Danny Gaius on the pole with the Interscope Cosworth automobile. Beside him in that front row will be Tom Sneaver. Tom Sneaver darting up for the 2nd position, still looking for his first win of the season. Then in row number 2 is Gordon Johncock and Rick Mears, the young sensation this year, who's already pulled out 2 victories. In row 3 will be Johnny Rutherford and Wally Dallenbach as we prepare for a start here. The pace car is already in, and they're coming down for green this time by Going to row 4, it's Al Unser and A.J. Foyt. Row 5 is Dick Simon and Johnny Parsons. And they're going to take one more lap. There is another lap before they release them. Row 6 is Bobby Unser in the Dan Gurney car and Spike Gilhousen in number 19. Taking a look at row 7, Steve Krisilov, flanked by Al Laquasco, the Pennsylvania driver. Then in row 8, it's Tom Bigelow, the great dirt track driver, and the Canadian, Cliff Huckel, will be flanking him in that yellow car that you see scrubbing his tires up. Row 9 is Sheldon Kinser, another great dirt tracker, and the famous Texan Jim McElreath is beside him in row number 9. The 10th row is Boom Boom, Larry Cannon, and Lee Kuntzman is back with a brand new car built in England, car number 90. Kuntzman qualifying it for the first time. Finally, we come to row 11. That's Gary Bettenhausen, for whom this race is run today in his dad's memory. Gary Bettenhausen starting 21st, and Todd Gibson will start in the scratch position, 22nd on the field. Pace car is coming in, and we're just about set for the start of the Bettenhausen Memorial, the Milwaukee 200 live here on CBS. Field in turn number 4. The Indianapolis Championship car racing comes to the line. Going into turn number 1, leader Danny Ungaius goes out in front. Sneva trying for second, and there is a challenge immediately for second place. Down the back straightaway, one car spinning, and it is Johnny Rutherford's number 4 has spun in turn number 2.
Absolutely miraculous. He missed by everybody else. Boy, everybody took tremendous control there because he was right in front of the pack.
Caution will be coming out as they come to the line. Field coming down very slowly. Johnny Rutherford had started in 5th position. He was in about that spot with 17 cars behind him when the car broke away, and there you see it lying across the track. Field trying to move him out. John Rutherford's car, number 4, the McLaren.
Former winner here. Danny Ungaius made the start that he wanted to make. He got away in front. And the two Penske drivers, Rick Mears was trying to come around the outside of Tom Sneve there in turn 1, but of course the whole thing rather fell apart when Johnny Rutherford just right behind him spun.
Let's see if we can see it in slow motion here, David. Coming out of turn 2.
There we see a lot of smoke and some miraculous avoidances. There's none of those drivers. Very difficult for them to see what's happening in all that smoke and, of course, over the tops of the other cars in front of you. That's one thing that most people watching these races don't realize. When you're driving a single-seater racing car, it's a bit like sitting on the floor. You get about that much vision. Not much.
Field coming down by under caution, coming after we've only made about a turn and a half on the track. We'll be back with more live action from the Milwaukee 200 in a moment.
Aerosol. Not an economical way to apply deodorant. In fact, you use up...
John Rutherford is now 2 laps down. Early this season, he was not even in the top 10 of the standings going into today's race. He was 4th in the national standings and had a good shot at both Al Unser 2nd and Wally Dallenbach 3rd in the national standings. But now he has to come from 2 laps down. On this track, it could be done because there is such a high attrition rate here. Now, there's the leader, Danny Ungaius, car number 25. Upcoming later this afternoon, the Westchester Golf Classic, and there you see the scores as they're back underway. Alan Tapey currently tied at 8 under with Gibby Gilbert, and Hubie Green 1 back at 7. We have 4 tied at 6. Nicholas, Greer Jones, Eichelberger, and Lee Elder. That's coming up later this afternoon. You'll see it live right here on CBS. Well, right now you're watching as it happens from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Tony Bettenhausen Memorial, the Milwaukee 200. Pace car is coming in, and as the field comes around to complete its 4th lap, we're getting green once again, and it'll be a battle between the Penske PC6s, 3 cars wide for second place. Look at that battle down into turn number 1. It's Gordon Johncock trying to scoot through on the inside. The Penske cars in the middle. Ungaius is out in front. Danny Ungaius has the lead as the field snarls out of turn number 2. Coming by to complete the 5th of 100 laps. Ungaius in front, and there's a challenge for second position. Gordon Johncock slips down to the inside, goes up to 160 miles an hour, and he challenges Rick Mears, who is now in second place, as they go to turn 1. There's Betty Rutherford scoring her husband's car, now 2 laps down. Ungaius, number 25, in front and drawing away from the field. It is Johncock in second, and they shuffle a little bit between the Penske cars back there in 3rd spot. Here's Ungaius clearly getting out in front. Remember, this is the track where he seems to be able to run anywhere.
And there's that poor little four-cylinder engine car behind him, making ground on him, having taken away second spot from first Rick Mears and then Tom Snever. In a bit of daredevil driving through turns 1 and 2. Now we'll see just how bad those four-cylinder engine cars are off. Not too badly, I suspect.
A.J. Foyt making some early moves to pull up on the Penske automobiles. Currently running in 3rd and 4th. Mears is in 3rd. Sneva, currently number 1 of the national standings, runs 4th. Right to the wall on Gaius. There's A.J. Foyt. Right in front of him is Dallenbach. We now have completed 7 laps on Gaius, going out in front like a rabbit in front of the hounds here in the early going. Establishing a very quick pace. A.J. Foyt moving in.
Leading in on Rick Mears, Tom Snever's teammate. Rick Mears, of course, the last winner at the Milwaukee track early in June. Driving very hard, holding up that crafty old veteran A.J. Foyt. No one drives with more sense and canniness than A.J., and he's giving Rick a pretty hard time, but Rick's doing well to hold him off. Meanwhile, Danny Ongaius just streaking out in the front. Tremendous explosion there from the turbocharged engines as they back off for turn 1. A lot of braking on this track. Not very common in USAC racing. These guys really have to use the brakes very hard, and they accelerate and brake much harder than most of the track. Foyt getting on the inside of Rick Mears there. Will he manage to get by or not?
Mears getting into a squabble with A.J. in the first and second turn areas. They ran wheel to wheel, and then Gaius continuing to pull away. Very, very fast in the early part of the race. Remember, this car won 3 events early. There's the battle. There's the battle. Mears on the outside, A.J. Foyt on the inside at turn 3.
Rick Mears just not giving an inch.
Sensational battle back here for 3rd position. A.J. seems to have the advantage in the Foyt Coyote. Mears goes right back around him on the outside.
A.J. Foyt lifted his hand off the wheel there, enough to just give a shake of his fist to Rick Mears. I think that put even the crafty A.J. Foyt off. Boy, what a move Rick Mears pulled there.
Wally Dallenbach just behind A.J. Foyt. Foyt started 8th in the field. And there is your battle. Here's A.J. down to the inside.
Rick seems to be very definitely quicker on the entry into turn 1, but at this point of the corner, A.J. seems to have a little bit more than coming off the corner. Rick Mears' Cosworth V8 seems to have just a little bit more torque than A.J.'s V8.
Turn 3.
Boy, this is some race for Rick Mears, one of the newest drivers in USAC racing, against A.J. Foyt, who is certainly one of the most experienced. First race in 1959 in this type of racing.
Parsons is up in there just behind Dallenbach, and that could be a 4-car squabble with Mears, Foyt, Dallenbach, and Parsons. Leader, Tom Sneva. Sneva drawing away. Remember, he set a new record by 3/100ths of a second.
Leader, Danny Ongaius.
Danny Ongaius.
Right.
Danny Ongaius setting a record by 3/100ths of a second to take the pole, and now just scoot out in front.
Driving very smoothly. I went down to turn 1 yesterday to watch him, and he certainly gets off the power much later going into turn 1 and gets on it much earlier, and of course that's what racing's all about, the guy who can deliver the most power to the track most of the time. There we see him going serenely on his way, if you can call averaging 130 odd mile an hour around a 1 mile oval serene. Averaging in fact about 127 miles an hour at the moment.
Ongaius in his last lap at 127.208.
There we saw the race briefly for second spot between Gordon Johncock and the old 4-cylinder Robbie, who's still maintaining second spot, holding off Tom Snever, the current points leader. There he is, Gordon Johncock, in his George Bignotti prepared car with the uncompetitive 4-cylinder engine. Uncompetitive, quote, unquote.
On Gaius, we have 1 car pitting. The early going, it will be number 98, Bettenhausen. Number 98, Bettenhausen, pulls on pit road. That is the first car to come in. He comes in the 15th lap.
Gary Bettenhausen not having a good year. In fact, he hasn't had a good year now for about 3 years. He drove for Roger Penske in 1972, led the Indy 500 for 400 odd laps, 400 odd miles until failing near the end. It's a shame to see Gary having such a tough time, especially in a race which is commemorating exonerating his father.
There is a report that there may be some tire problems on Gordon Johncock's car. There are the standings as we work the 17th lap with Danny and Guy as first, Gordon Johncock second, and the battle is between Sneva and Foyt. Danny and Gaius is leading. We are now in the 19th lap of the Milwaukee 200, the memorial race to the memory of the great Tony Bettenhausen, who had those great battles with Iron Mike Nesrith, Johnny Parsons back in the early 50s on this track. Walt Faulkner. Well, now it's Danny and Gaius seeking another win here today. He already has 3 victories this season, but of recent the car has been breaking. Will it stand the gap? Here he is moving into lap traffic, trying to move underneath Al Aquasto as he comes out of turn number 4 and down the main straightaway. Back into turn number 1 in a hurry on this 1-mile track. The second position remains Gordon Johncock. We've had a report just a few moments ago. There may be a tire problem on that Pat Patrick car. Maintaining third is the current number 1 driver in the nation, Tom Sneva, the defending national champion. There's Johncock, the second place machine. Going fourth is Mears, while fifth is A.J. Foyt, 6th is Dollenbach, and back in 7th is Johnny Parsons, Lindsey Hopkins' car. Now notice how that number 25 gets right below the line time after time in turn number 1.
Well, Danny Guy has certainly turned into a driver of distinction, and he's really sorted that car out. He can run high and low, and as we can see, he's using the track to the most ability, and he's just driving away from the field at the moment.
22 laps complete this time as Ungaius comes back to the stripe. Second place car, Gordon Johncock, about to overtake and lap Al Aquasto at turn number 1. Then that third place car, Sneva. Now there is Johncock in the 4-cylinder automobile. And he's beneath Aquasto out of turn 2. And right there is where Gordon Johncock crashed as he went into turn 3 a year ago when we were here. Remember, he backed into the wall, took an awful shot.
That's right. In fact, we were pretty worried about him for a long time. He didn't seem to move much, but then, of course, Gordon Johncock's a pretty tough little individual, and he soon came back. There's Gary Bettenhausen back on the track, about to be passed by
Sneva.
Tom Sneva.
Sneva running third. His teammate Mears in a second Penske PC6 is in fourth, and those cars really work well as Penske cars handle. But there's the guy that's flying right now. Question is it a hare and hound battle?
Well, Danny Ungaius, for the ideal set of circumstances, of course, needs to win this race. If he wants to do well in the championship this year, he needs Tom Sneva to score no points at all this afternoon, because Sneva just keeps on adding to that points total by consistent finishes. Danny keeps running out the front, and he's had a very bad string of failures just recently, and hasn't won a race, hasn't finished a race, and obviously has no points. There we see Dick Simon in number 17 putting the chop to somebody, and Danny Ungaius about to come up and try and do it to all of them. Oh, this is where you've got to be really careful in traffic like that. When it's racing, they sometimes don't know that you're there.
Spike Gilhousen, the man he's trying to move around, and does so as we put the clock on car number 25, the Interscope Ted Field machine, breaking through lap cars, and look at him run it out. Snarling up around Dick Simon beneath him as he came out of turn 2 back to 3. Now this is 1 lap on a mile track here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as you're watching it live on CBS. Upcoming, the Westchester Classic final round this afternoon. 1 lap at 29 and 1/10 of a second, 123.711, and he was in traffic.
Well, you can see just how much that traffic slowed him down from his average lap speed of about 27.5 seconds, or 130 miles an hour. So it's absolutely imperative to make a good job of going through the traffic.
The interval between first and this car in second is 2 6/10 seconds. 2 6/10 of a second between Ungaius first, Johncock in second, and he has just lapped Bobby Unser. Boy, Unser's in a cold spell.
Was that Unser or was that Tom Bigelow in number 40?
It was 48.
Was it?
It was the Bobby Unser car.
Bobby not having a good day at all.
Remember, Unser qualified pretty well back in 11th position in this 22-car grid.
His brother Al, in fact, didn't qualify very well today, but I see he's now moved up to 5th position in the car, of course, with which he won the Indianapolis 500 for the 3rd time. One of only, what, 3 drivers to do that? 4 drivers? 4. AJ, the extra, who has won it 4 times. Now here is number 25, Ungaius out of turn 2. He just turns that wheel about 8 to 10 degrees to make that swoop. This is a track where someone like Danny Ongais, who's had a lot of experience in road racing in Formula 5000, and latterly there's Tom Sneven, car number 1, also lapping 25. Danny Ongais, as I was saying, has had a lot of experience in road racing. The last 2 years he's been driving a Porsche in the IMSA series, doing extremely well, obviously less time there. And it gives him great experience on a track like this, which is more akin to a road course than somewhere like Indianapolis.
Here he is moving under Larry Boom Boom Cannon and Cliff Huckel as he stays out in front. For just a moment, Huckel stayed with him for just a tad up there in turn 3.
You can just see Gordon Johncock there, who made a bit of ground there in that lap traffic on Danny. Danny not taking any chances at all this afternoon. He has to finish this race.
It'll be interesting to follow the path of Gordon Johncock going into turn number 1. He seems to be way down below the line. There's the 4th place car. 4th place machine, number 14, A.J. Foyt, with only 1 victory to his credit this year, but 60 victories on his belt over his illustrious career in USAC championship racing alone. A.J. now in 4th.
He had a pretty interesting tussle there with Rick Mears, who's still hounding him pretty close behind.
That would be the Unser car.
In fact, that was Al Unser's car.
That's Al Unser in car number 2, who has pulled up into 5th position and is closing in that new Jim Hall car. Now that's the car that has been the big surprise. Winning Indy, winning Pocono. The question is, will it be the first car to win the Triple Crown of auto racing? Indianapolis, Pocono, Pennsylvania, and the Cal 501 season. And there is the battle.
It certainly made some ground up on Foyt through turns 3 and 4 there.
AJ is 4th in the red car. The red, white, and blue colors are those of Jim Hall from Midland, Texas. And the chauffeur is Al Unser, who is in ecstasy these days. His young 16-year-old son has won 3 sprint car races in a row. He's as high about that as his own win at Indy this year. Danny Ongais continues to lead with 33 laps complete in the Milwaukee 200. Al Unser, who had started this race back in 7th position, has just moved around A.J. Foyt. Al Unser has moved around A.J. Foyt and picked up a spot here, and that puts him in 3rd position. And I think we're going to take a look at that pass again and replay in just a moment. Meanwhile, Danny Ongais is out in front. Now here it is in replay, David Hobbs.
Okay, we see Al setting Foyt going wide there. Al hanging on very tight.
Came underneath it just as it came through 4. Now there's your leader. Danny Ongais still in front. We are 36 laps into the event. 36 laps complete. With still Ongais in 1st, Gordon Johncock holding on in 2nd. And we're going to be seeing some pit stops very, very shortly. They'll have to be coming in for fuel.
The pit men are getting out there, the pit wall, getting their signs ready to give these drivers a sign to come in for more fuel. Not gas, of course, alcohol fuel. Danny Ongais coming up now. Now he's coming up to lap Bobby Unser in car number 48, and to lap again Al LaQuasto in car number 92. Now Bobby Unser not giving up without a struggle. He doesn't want to be lapped by Danny Ongais much. Apparently Al LaQuasto doesn't like him for the 2nd time much either. It's pretty irritating when guys won't give up without a fight when you're lapping them. However, he managed to pull it off, passing both cars. Al, I say, for the 2nd time, and goes on through turn 3 and 4, coming onto the main straightaway. Can't be many laps now before it'll be in time for Danny.
Danny Ongais still in command. Johncock trying to run in on him a little with his 4-cylinder car now. 3rd is Phil Sneedland. 4th, the Al Unser car. There's Johncock darting through some traffic, and everybody's staying out here pretty well today. Haven't had any attrition to speak of whatsoever thus far in the going. 22 cars started, and they're all hanging in here as we move toward the halfway point of the race. 40 laps are now complete. 10 more to go. We'll be halfway home on this one.
Danny Ongais taking an incredibly low line through turn 1 there, going way inside the yellow line. Maybe he's found a quicker way around yet.
9 cars in the lead lap. There are 9 automobiles still in the lead lap as we're focusing on Danny Ongais in turn number 4. And he's coming into heavy traffic that darts, dives, and dodges up there in that 4th turn. Tremendous speeds. These cars turn. Look at Ongais going to 1.
He's coming up to pass Jim McElreath and Wally Dollenbach, who qualified really well up. There goes Jimmy McElreath lapping him. And he's just about to put a pass on Wally Dollenbach and put him a lap down.
In traffic on Gaius now has a 3 2/10 second advantage over John Cock in second place.
Look at the way Danny, you know, he's getting most of his speed in the corners. He's just driving right round the outside of Wally Dollenbach there.
And that would put 8 cars in the lead lap as he gets around number 6.
Apparently Wally Dollenbach doesn't think that's much of an idea either.
Bettenhausen back in the pits. Number 98, Gary Bettenhausen is in. Let's see if it's terminal on that car. It is. He is coming out of the automobile. Number 98, Gary Bettenhausen, still has that bad arm from that terrible crash at Syracuse, New York a few years ago where he just shattered the arm badly. And the shoulder, he's out of the race now. A guy who wants to win Indianapolis more than anyone I know. The one race his father wanted to win and never won. And the Bettenhausen family keeps searching for that victory at Indy. Great competitive group.
Of course, Gary Bettenhausen's a real racer's racer. He had a tremendous drive with Roger Penske, but he insisted on driving in the dirt track cars and had the terrible accident, broke his arm, and quite frankly, it definitely slowed him down a little bit, and he's not got a very competitive drive since. Although he's certainly a hell of a driver on these oval tracks, the USAC Championship Trail.
We're watching Von Gaius leading, but I'm also seeing something happen here, and that is that number 1, Sneva, has closed a little ground on John Cock, whereas it was 3 seconds. It's now 2.5 and closing between the second and third place cars on the track. On Gaius in the Interscope Ford Cosworth still has the advantage by less than 4 seconds. There's Gary Bettenhausen out of his automobile. He really wanted to make this one hang together and run, but it didn't last the day. 2 other brothers tried their game in racing. Tony Jr., Merle. I know they were cheering for him today. Not the Bettenhausen's day. On Gaius, the Flying Hawaiian continues to skim over this mile course, looking very good as we've completed 45 laps complete. 45 complete. Now let's go to the pits with Brock Yates.
Ken, I've got a disappointed Gary Bettenhausen with me. Gary, you stopped quickly for an oil leak, I understand, early in the going. What finally put you out?
Well, the same old 4-cylinder story. Not enough fuel and trying to run the engine too hard to compete with the 8 cylinders, and we finally just burned a piston.
Even though Gordon seems to be running pretty well with his car, there just doesn't seem to be enough power in the automobiles.
Well, what you got to remember is those engines are not Offenhausers. Those are Magnati's engines, and they're quite a bit different than the Offie. And they have a dyno of their own, and they can run on the dyno and get everything just perfect. We can't. So,
can you see a day when the Offenhauser will absolutely not run anymore in this league?
Definitely, under the way the rules are written right now, it's impossible to compete with one. This is the first race that we've run since Pocono, and we're kind of sorry we did now.
Okay, disappointed Gary Bettenhausen. Back to you, Ken.
Leaders now in the 48th lap. You're watching Al Unser make the first of the regular pit stops here. Al Unser coming back on the track in car number 2, the Jim Hall car, and I believe that's the car they wrecked in Texas earlier this year. This is a rebuild for Al Unser. He is the first of the leaders to pull in and pit, leaving Danny Ongaius in first place. In second spot, still Gordon Johncock. Tom Sneva in third. A.J. Foyt will move back to fourth. Al Unser dropping down after that pit stop. We're better than halfway through this race at a record pace after an early shot by Johnny Rutherford, which now has left him 3 laps down. It has been green all the way with Danny Ongaius in first. Then Gordon Johncock in the Pat Patrick car number 20 you're seeing here running in second spot. And the third place car is behind him by about 2 3/10 seconds.
And Tom Sneva is slowing down. Tom Sneva must be in some sort of trouble. He pulled on the pit lane. Unfortunately, one of it was developed just after the pit entrance, and he's slowing right down. Is this terminal, or is it just trouble that can be fixed in the pits? We won't know for a few moments.
I gave you a halfway, and that was a quarter way, 50 laps.
Quarter way, right.
Quarter way.
Also, of course, we just saw Danny Ongaius put another lap on poor old Johnny Rutherford in car number 4. There is now 3 laps down. There's only about 5 or 6 cars left on the lead lap with Danny Ongaius. At this rate, he's going to lap the entire field twice.
Do you think that he overshot the pits on the last time around?
I can't imagine he did, because he went round so slowly. He would have speeded up again. He must be in some sort of trouble. I don't see any flat tires. Everything looks okay. They're just putting fuel in. Maybe he ran out of fuel.
Larry Cannon has just pitted his car behind the Sneva automobile. Again, we are at 53 laps, and we're about a quarter of the way into the race. A quarter of the way.
Well, that's the fuel test on the Penske team anyway. That'll only do 53 laps, 52 laps, without running out of fuel. If that's the only trouble it was.
Larry Cannon's automobile is still in the Pittsburgh extended stage. 21 seconds, and the Penske car is back on the track. Whoa, close down there as Sneva came back out.
Tremendous amount of reliance here on the mirror. These drivers are being lapped fairly frequently. There is Spike Gilhousen about to be lapped by Danny Ongais. Cut him up rather badly. There's Al Laquasto again.
Oh, spin by Dick Simon. He tagged the wall.
And how?
Simon has really hit it. Number 17, he qualified very, very well. His car ravaged here as he went into turn number 1. Dick Simon's automobile has crashed in turn number 1.
He really did a job on that car. Tore both left side wheels off. Tore the wing off. Flattened every tire in the car except the right front. Obviously done quite a bit of structural damage, I would think.
Caution is on the speedway. He's out of the car.
These modern monocoque chassis cars are incredibly strong. They're not the old tube frame anymore. They're made up of millions of pieces of pressed aluminium or steel, sometimes with some trick lightweight fiberglass parts in there, and they're incredibly strong.
Dick Simon, originally out of Salt Lake City, Utah, has crashed car number 17. Simon had come in here with a very, very good qualifying run and put him in 9th for the start of this race, and they're going to need a record to take this one off, and we are in the second caution of the day. It starts in the 55th lap. Again, as they're picking up, there's the nose off the car. There's the nose, the fiberglass from the front of the machine being thrown away.
Of course, it always looks a lot worse than it really is when you get down to the actual chassis on these cars. They may not be in bad shape. We're now going to see the new rule in action too, where no one can just drop into the pits on the first lap of the caution.
But A.J. Foyt has dropped in. A.J. Foyt is pitting right now in car number 14. The rest of the cars have stayed out on the track, but one car has come on pit road.
Well, A.J. seems to be a bit of a law unto himself, and it'll be interesting to see how either he or USAC explain that one away, because one of them's right. Obviously, in ensuing interviews, they'll both be right. It'll be interesting to see who is right. They're supposed to line up behind the pace car for a full lap. Then they get a signal at the beginning of pit lane that they can then pit, and then they can go in. But the idea is ostensibly for safety, but I think it's mainly for timing and scoring purposes. Danny Ongais still at the head of the queue. Obviously, he'll come in for fuel.
So Dick Simon is out of this race. He brings on the second caution of the afternoon here in the Milwaukee 200, and we'll be back with more live action from the Milwaukee 200 after this word from your local station. There you receive the remains of a at least $65,000 expenditure in a race car. Badly shot out is the La Machine of Dick Simon.
Owned and built by Roller Volstead, another name from many years of USAC racing. He'll be very disappointed, obviously, to see that, because he's one of the guys that this controversy over the 4-cylinder and the 8-cylinder engines is centered around. People like him, you know, can they afford more expensive engines? And there we see Tom Sneva back in the pits again. Looks like a long time. What are they doing in the cockpit? I can't imagine. Unless they're doing... Oh, that's a bad sign, obviously. Tom Sneva sitting there.
I think he's praying. You know, he is number 1 in the standings, but it's he's nowhere from being decided this year. Upcoming on CBS this year, you're going to be seeing Phoenix and Trenton live. We'll be taking you to England when the USAC cars appear there.
Back to Brands Hatch Albion for the English faces.
And of course, CBS will be bringing you the U.S. Grand Prix from Watkins Glen, New York on a 1-week delay. It's October the 1st for the event at Watkins Glen. And all of us hoping so much that this will be Mario Andretti's year to win the world title. You'll see the highlights of that great race on CBS exclusively. Still, Sneva has a problem.
I think it's gear selection trouble. The way they're poking around in the cockpit and poking around right at the back of the car, I noticed someone taking a screwdriver or a spanner to the cockpit, which is pretty unusual. There's not much in there except the gear lever and the steering wheel, so maybe he's having gear selection trouble. Not, of course, that these USAC cars use the gears much other than just go in and out of the pits. Obviously, if it starts dropping out of a gear, that's obviously very severe.
Safety crews are continuing to work out here on the track, picking up the debris. Tom Sneva just sitting there waiting. There's the crew sweeping, making sure all the debris is picked up, because it wouldn't take but just a tinsel of material out there on the track, and you've got a flat tire and a major disaster down here in turn number 1. As we have the standings now, A.J. Foyt is being shown in first. Remember, he made that early stop. Then in second spot is showing Gordon Johncock, who pitted and came out faster than Danny Ungaius. As you were mentioning while we were away on commercial, the pit stop by Ungaius really wasn't that quick.
No, it wasn't very good at all. Actually, we've also got a report that Tom Sneaver is suffering from boost problem. He has a control in the cockpit where he can alter the boost that the turbocharger supplies to the engine, and that's what they're working on at the back of the car.
Let's go to Brock Yates right now.
Problem? You think it was the control or what?
Brock Yates is down there
Yeah,
trying to get some information, some further information on exactly what the problem is on the Penske PC6. Tom Snevo, one of the most likable people and the pride of the Northwest in trouble. Later this afternoon, the Westchester Classic is coming up, and what an event that's turned out to be. As they went into the fourth and final round through 54 holes, Alan Tapie and Gibby Gilbert were tied up in front. Will it continue that way? Well, you'll see it on CBS this afternoon for the decision. As to this event, at the present time, with 61 laps complete, the second caution of the day, as you're watching, some people might wonder what car number 2, Unser's doing, scrubbing in new rubber on the...
Well, the thing is, when you slow down on a track like this, the tyres immediately go cold, and their best operating temperature is at around about 250 degrees. They're just trying to keep them warm.
Back to the pits and Brock Yates.
Ken, as you can see, Tom Sneeve is sitting patiently while the crew replaces the turbocharger, that magical unit that almost trebles the power in these Indianapolis-type engines, and it's going to be a hot and a very frustrating job to get that unit changed. But obviously, he's getting somewhat of a break because some of the work's being done under the yellow flag, but I'm sure that Tom is definitely out of contention this afternoon for any sort of thoughts of a victory.
We're waiting for resumption of the race. They're about to put the green back on the track. As Sneva sits in the pits, the green flag is coming out. And as they come to the line, striking down toward the stripe, see car number 2. They have Unser,
the leader on the road,
of the pack, but they're saying he is on the tail end of the lead lap. They're still saying that AJ is up in front and that car number 2 is on the tail end of that lap. Now there's AJ just whipping through some lapped automobiles as Supertex goes for it here today. Johncock trying to move beneath the car and not getting through.
I think it's Johnny Parsons, Jr. Now they're trying to get around. Who's that?
That's car number 75.
Todd Gibson. A.J. Foyt's broken free of him and of Johnny Parsons. So has... No, there's Gordon Johncock being held up a little bit through turn 1 and 2, and Johnny Parsons in fact got around the outside of him. A.J. Foyt, however, is pulling away down the backstretch. In the lead, although not in the lead on the road. Al Unser is still in front of him on the road after the lineup behind the pit car.
So that would mean that Al Unser is on the end of that lead lap, right, David?
I guess it looks like it, sir.
They're saying AJ is first and that Gordon Johncock right there is second. And you can see there's no interval between first and second. It is a matter of maybe 4 or 5 car lengths between AJ Foyt seeking his 61st win and second of the season, and Gordon Johncock in car number 20 in second. Now there is number 2 running to the tail end of the lead lap is the report. Al Unser in the Jim Hall car back in 5th spot. The 3rd place car is Danny Ungaius, and there's part of A.J. Foyt's crew looking very anxious as he comes by. And A.J. is pitting. Foyt is coming in.
They black flagged A.J. Foyt. No wonder his crew was looking so worried. I'm sure they've decided that the pit stop we saw him make early was illegal. By golly, that car on his face and brain will be as red as the car. He'll be hopping mad.
So A.J. relinquishes first place as the consultation flag, the black flag was given to him, and he pulled into the pits and comes out again.
Oh my God, he'll be flying absolutely 1,000 feet up the ground.
Well, meanwhile, we've got a great fight for first place.
So that puts Gordon Johncock into the lead for the first time in that poor little old unusable 4-cylinder engine.
But Danny Ungaius has whipped around him. Danny Ungaius moving on a turn number 2 is just flying through traffic, and Ungaius puts a lap on Al Unser.
Look at him pass Al Unser, just like he's tied to the ground.
Ungaius
on the gas, as we call him in IMSA racing, is no doubt tremendously fast and confident driver. Has great car control. I've never seen anybody so sideways as he gets.
Rick Mears is running 3rd. They're now saying AJ is 4th, and Unser is in 5th, number 2, Al Unser, and that pass by Gaius would put him a lap down to the leader. He's also been lapped by Gordon Johncock, the second-place car. Johncock is running about a second behind this number 25. We'll get an interval here for you as they come to line. Here is Ungaius, the leader. Second place.
Looping down that straight. Car moving around all the time. You can really see its speed on those long lenses, how these cars quiver and shake around. Not a very rough track, but even so, a tremendous amount of movement is transmitted through these cars. Wings flapping.
1 1/10 seconds between the first and second place automobiles as you watch them sweep through the third and fourth turn here at the Milwaukee State Fairgrounds. The event that concludes the Wisconsin State Fair, and we have the story on AJ. Here's Brock.
Ken, we talked at the top of the show about some frayed tempers in the pits, and believe me, AJ Foyt's pit is the scene for that sort of action. He's obviously, as David said, furious. He was forced to stop, for penalty stop, because of that early arrival in the pits. As you know, that this very controversial USAC rule that makes everybody queue up behind the pace car before they get into the pits on a caution flag. AJ apparently took advantage of that, came in early. USAC said, no, you can come in again. He made, as you could see, a very rapid stop, and obviously proceeded back on the racetrack with his blood pressure about 40 times higher than it was.
Well, of course, the sort of thing that leads to controversy is that they should have really held him up for a lap. He gained a lap on everybody else, and in actual fact, he got away light.
71 laps are now complete. A.J. Foyt, rather than leading, is back in 4th, and Danny Ungaius is out in front. A.J. Foyt is back in 4th. I think right now he's turning about the quickest laps on the track. They qualified at a new record speed of 134.761. That was Danny Ungaius' lap that put him on the point. But right now in the race, it's been about 126 or 127 miles per hour. We're going to put a clock on A.J. Foyt because he is thundering out here at the present time. If you're just joining us, this is the Milwaukee 200 live from the Wisconsin Fairgrounds. Johnny Parsons' car is up to 6th place now. The Lindsey Hopkins car, they made some adjustments in the suspension, and the machine seems to be working very well, David.
Yeah, he's going extremely well. He also, of course, is in a 4-cylinder engine car and is running extremely well, as we can see.
AJ on this mile track, penalized, brought in for getting into the pits too early under this controversial flag situation where they all have to line up and come in together. Here he comes to line, and it isn't quite that quick at a 28.3.
It's a good race lap, though.
127.2.
The track has obviously got a bit slippery, and there's Danny Ungaius slipping underneath. Another car lapping yet again.
Lee Kunzmann's car. Lee Kunzmann's automobile is a brand new car built in England, and this is the first time it's qualified, and a lot of us would love to see Lee Kunzmann have a good race. The driver from Iowa, who's had 2 bad crashes in his career but runs well. Ungaius, look at him, just scooting down the inside and blazing by. Still another machine as he comes out of turns 3 and 4. It looked like the Gurney Eagle took that one on the chops. Here comes your leader into turn number 1. Danny Ungaius, right down below the line. You're so right. He takes such a weird line down there, but so does Johncock, only it's different. Johncock comes in, he seems to go out around and then dive down across and square the first turn.
Well, all these guys have got different ideas of how they should go around this track, but just right at the moment, I wouldn't argue.
Now there's Johncock. There is the driver in 2nd place, and there is an interval of about 11 seconds back to the 3rd place car, which is Mears. Mears is running in 3rd in one of the Penske machines. Then in 4th is AJ, and 5th is Al Unser. And it'll be interesting to see what Al Unser can do with A.J. Foyt. A.J. is trying his best to make up some time after being told to come in and pit. Leader is right there. That's Danny Ungaius, 2nd place. About 3 2/10 seconds back. And here are the top 10 as we have them. We have 4 cars running the lead lap. Ungaius, number 25, is the leader as we have completed 80 of the 200 laps. In the 2nd place is Gordon Johncock. In 3rd is Mears, and in 4th is Foyt. They are running the lead lap, David. Then a lap down would be Al Unser in 5th, and in 6th is Johnny Parsons, in 7th is Krisaloff. In the 8th position would be Wally Dollenbach, while at the present time we're showing in 9th Cliff Huckel, and 10th position would be the car of Bobby Unser, number 48.
Bobby Unser not having a good day at all, and in fact has pulled into the pits and is getting out of the car just at the moment.
So that's the Gurney Eagle in trouble. There's Rick Mears. Mears running in 3rd place, and there's AJ. Look at that. AJ is making up ground on Mears. There's your battle. You're watching the fight for 3rd position. Mears, the youngster, who's won 2 races in his first full USAC championship year. He was out here a couple of years ago, and an engine on Johnny Parsons.
Johnny Parsons has blown an engine or transmission. This is probably going to bring out a yellow flag. He'd have sprayed oil all down that backstretch.
Parsons running in 6th position in car number 16. Looks like he's lost an engine. Do we see any sign of a flag? No. Only the passing flag as the leaders came by. Trying to get himself around the track and back into the pits is Johnny Parsons. There's your leader on Gaius. Situation here on Parsons. Still getting a fair amount of steam out of a car that really put out some smoke, and caution is on. Caution now comes out.
It had to. He did almost a full lap. Well, I would say also, he's still out there.
Officially, 3 cars have now retired. We're under caution for the 3rd time today. Danny and Gaius still out in front in the Milwaukee 200. 86 laps complete. The leaders have been told they can now pit in this caution period. 3rd caution of the afternoon in a 200-lap race. Danny Ungaius back on his way. Let's go to Brock Yates in the pit area.
Bobby Unser out early. Not exactly the end of a perfect day.
Not hardly. Like it was maybe the start of a pretty bad day.
What was it, Bobby? The engine or transmission or what?
No, we have a fuel pickup problem. Probably something clogged up one of the flapper valves or something like that, and it just won't pick up the fuel in the turns.
Hey, tell me something. We've got a caution right now, so all the other cars that are running are in the pits. AJ had a little problem. He was black flagged earlier. I don't know whether you knew that. He came in allegedly early. What do you think about this new USAC deal that brings everybody in together?
Well, I think it's totally ridiculous, and now maybe AJ will say something about it. So far, I've been doing all the talking on it, and I don't think it's the right rule. I don't think it has any meaning. You're getting penalized for something that you didn't deserve a penalty for, and they realize that it's not right, but it's really just so they can put the pace car where it belongs, because they're wondering, you know, who won the last Trenton race and things like that, and just the wrong thing. And I'm sure that we just get a few of the guys that get penalized, like I did in Texas last week, like Floyd did today, they'll get stopped.
Okay. I wish Bobby would speak his mind sometime. He, you know about that, Ken? He never says what he means.
Yeah, right.
Okay, back to you.
Yeah, I hate someone that just won't come right out with it.
There's A.J. Floyd, and he certainly will.
I want to watch that on a long-range camera, of course.
That's right, at least 300 feet away.
Absolutely.
And Supertex has to be hot, but he's made up some good ground. He's going to be right back in this thing. You know, he's stayed in the laps.
There we see
they're putting down the Speedy Dry now, the dry chemical
spreader, say bought from the local hardware store, putting down the Easy Dry to clean up the oil that Johnny Parsons laid at least 1 lap around this track. I don't know what went wrong. The car was running fine. What he could have done is blown something inside the engine, which threw all the oil out of the catch tank that all these cars carry and spread out, because it made a lot of smoke, but obviously the car was still running. Although he's now out of the car.
It's not even cultivating time out here in Wisconsin either.
Oh.
That's a dry chemical that will absorb anything that's dropped on the track. But that is an ingenious device for getting it down. You see them do it in a lot of ways. Sometimes with just the old shovel, and sometimes with a bag out of the back of the pickup. They've come up with something neat here in Milwaukee.
Are you sure? How?
The remains of the old push lawnmower.
I wonder if I could borrow that and take it home.
Coming up, the Westchester Golf Classic later this afternoon here on CBS. You'll be seeing the finals live on this station that you're watching now, so stay with us throughout the day on CBS Sports. Earlier, David Hobbs had a chance to investigate in a little more depth the story of the turbochargers on these racing cars we're seeing today. Here's what David learned. One
of the terms we use freely up here in the commentary box is turbocharger and boost. To explain those terms more technically, I have a technical expert with me, Herb Porter, who introduced turbocharging to Indianapolis cars in 1966. Herb, can you tell us really just exactly what a turbocharger is and what it does to these engines?
Well, I'll try, David, in a short period here. Supercharger is nothing but an air compressor which compresses more air into the engine and makes it run faster. In a turbocharger, we use the hot gases and the pressure from the exhaust coming through here and out there in order to drive a wheel at a very high rate of speed. On this end of the same wheel is a compressor, which is a centrifugal fan-like device, which takes the air in here, compresses it as it goes around into a higher pressure and delivers more air into the engine, which makes it put out more power.
Okay, well that's simple enough. They were first developed really for piston engine aircraft so they could fly at high altitude and turbo boost them up to normal atmosphere. Obviously when you boost them down here, they go to well over normal atmosphere, and that's the thing that Tom Snever had go wrong, and that's what they changed. I might add that they run at about 2,000 degrees centigrade on the hot side, so you can see it was a hot job to change it.
We've completed 90 of the 200 laps, 90 of the 200. 10 more laps and we will be at the halfway juncture of the race. And here's something interesting, David. Only 4 retirees thus far today on a very warm afternoon here in Wisconsin. Gary Bettenhausen out in lap 43. Dick Simon then crashed in lap 55 in turn 1. Bobby Unser retiring in the 81st lap, and now Johnny Parsons in the 85th, which means we still have 18 cars as contenders.
Yeah, and Danny on Gaius, of course, now dropped to second after that last yellow flag and pit stop. I find that difficult to believe, but there it is. That's what we're told, that he is now in second. By the way, that's 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's 2,000 degrees centigrade, it'd be about the temperature of the sun. I don't think they get quite that hot.
When they come around, they will have put the 19th lap down under caution thus far today. And we're still showing Danny and Gaius first with an 8-cylinder car, Gordon John Cock with a 4-cylinder car in second.
A surprising message to Rolaids users. Towns neutralizes.
As the field commenced, the 93rd lap, we are back under green here at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With Brock Yates and David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire. This is Danny and Gaius in the black number 25 in front. The gentleman in the position just in front of Gaius, first in the race, is Sneva, several laps down as they've had some turbo problems on his car. The second place automobile is right behind Danny and Gaius as they go tripping at 160 miles an hour down the main straightaway into turn 1. That's Gordon Johncock trying the low side of turn 1. Sneva not giving any distance, and that could put Gaius in the box if Gordon Johncock would like to try to make a move here. Gaius back to the inside.
Oh, Danny, don't try it. Trying to get down the inside of Sneva there, Sneva having none of it. Danny's car looked a bit squirrely through there the last time round and still is looking a bit squirrely.
But he always looks darty to me. Now here is Johncock in that blue and white car there, and here's Gaius down the inside and pointing a lap on Sneva. Here comes Johncock after with a 4-cylinder car.
Okay, now Johncock's going to get past Tom Sneva. Let's see if Tom makes it a bit easier for Johncock. Yeah, he must have done. He slipped through on the inside. Of course, trying that stunt last year at this same turn is when Gordon came unglued and had that very nasty accident. Okay, back in front, Danny Gaius, car number 25, pulling away from his immediate pursuer, Gordon Johncock in the 4-cylinder car.
The third place car is Rick Mears. Mears still in third, fourth, A.J. Foyt. Brock Yates standing by in the pits with another of the retirees.
Got Johnny Parsons with us. John, you were only one of 4 guys to fall out of this thing so far. Why such a low attrition rate this afternoon?
I'm not sure why. Everybody must be more prepared for it, but unfortunately I'm one of them. Supposed to be more prepared for it, and we broke an oil fitting off the scavenger pump. Lost the oil pressure and lost our boost momentarily, and we couldn't run anymore. We'd lose the engine, so I just had to park it.
This racetrack's supposed to be pretty hard on cars, though.
I don't think it's so bad. No, it's flat and it's not that fast. It's a good racetrack, though. You can pass close because it's so slow, but the rougher tracks are like Texas, and the faster ones that are bumpy and rough. Yeah, I just hate to be out of it. It's been a bad weekend. My midget quit running Friday night, and the dirt car blew up yesterday in Springfield, now this, so I better look for a part-time job someplace.
Okay, we know we'll be back. Johnny Parsons, back to you, Ken.
Sounds like he's got a lot of part-time jobs. Unfortunately, the wrong part's the one that keeps giving up.
The 97th lap has been completed. There are 4 cars running in the lead lap. They're working the 98th. With Gaius first, Johncock second, A.J. Foyt in third, Rick Mears in fourth. There is your second place car. And right behind him, as they come to the strike is the lap car of Tom Sneva. There is an interval of about 6 seconds between the third and fourth place automobiles. The fifth place automobile, 1 lap down to Wally Dallenbach. Wally Dallenbach in fifth, a lap down. And there would be a little question about that, I would think, as far as cars number 2 is concerned, the Al Unser machine.
Yeah, I see them giving the blue flag to Al to move over, but I don't think he's particularly anxious to do that, because if he lets Foyt pass, that'll put him yet another lap down, and obviously he wants to try and stay on the same lap and pull it back if he can.
1973 Indy winner, number 20, John Cock, still trying to chase down Danny Ungaius. Ungaius has had a cold streak, started the season very well, picked up 3 wins, and the car started breaking on him.
It seems to me, looking at the point scores, that there's not really enough difference between winning and coming second in any of these races, because Danny is well down on points, even though he's won 3 races, and of course Tom Sneva, who's leading the championship, hasn't won anything yet.
Well, the points are graduated according to the money in the purse, or in those big races like Indianapolis.
That's exactly right, and of course Sneva keeps finishing second in the 500 milers, and Al Unser, of course, keeps winning them, but apart from that, he's hardly finished any races, let alone won any. And poor old Danny is way down and has won 3 races. There we see him.
Here's an interesting story. Larry Dixon back in the 10th position. He is not here today, nor Pancho Carter, because although they have Ford Cosworths, they're out of pieces for their engines. Actually, Carter had another problem. He's almost out of race car. They've shunted a couple. They've been putting one back together for the end of the season. But they're short engine parts, which kept them from being here today.
I think also people are making sure they've got a good store of parts for the next 500-mile race. The trouble is that so many people are ordering up these Cosworths now.
There's something on the track. What is it?
It looks like a bell off the bell mouth off a turbocharger, doesn't it? The inlet side of a turbocharger, I think.
It's lying right on the track. See if we can get a position as the camera pulls back and give us an idea of exactly where it's located.
We maybe ought to let it's pretty well online.
Say it's an air horn.
It looks like the air horn off the inlet side of a turbocharger, doesn't it? You know, Herb Porter just pointed out.
You can see the field coming around. It looks like it's up here as they enter the pits, coming off turn number 4. Grab your tire here, for surprise. Car number 25. Ungaius now has gone more than half the distance. We are 103 laps in this 200-lap race, and there's the caution.
There's the caution to move the air horn, because if someone runs over it, not only could you puncture your own tire, but of course you could, even worse, flick it up into the face of a following driver, which could have disastrous consequences at the sort of speeds these cars are doing. Although it's only a mile oval, these guys are doing 130-mile-an-hour laps.
Even a bird can be disastrous if it crashes, and it's happened in these kind of races. We'll be back with more in a moment. At Milwaukee, ready for a restart after the 4th caution of the day. They're coming around to complete the 106th lap. Johnny Rutherford, who caused the first caution of the day, is 2 laps down, running in 10th position. For you McLaren fans with us today. Going into turn number 1, Gordon Johncock almost tasted the concrete. A car, I think it was Cliff Huckel on the outside, chopped him off a bit as he went in there.
Absolutely did the classic thing. He should have stayed right out of the way, instead of which he just got right in the way.
So we have A.J. Foyt trying to move up through some traffic here. There's A.J. on number 14, who was in a bit of a stir earlier.
He's trying to get round Al Unser, who's not giving an inch. These 2 guys have been slugging it out on these ovals, big and small, for 15 to 20 years now.
A.J. on his way into turn number 1. Shown in third. In front of him is Gordon Johncock in second. Ungaius continues to lead. The amazing thing is the attrition rate. Hardly anyone dropping out. We're halfway in the race. Only 4 retirees, 18 continuing in competition.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They must be setting some sort of average, high average speed too, record average speed.
Oh, caution is on the track again. We have caution on the course. As the field motors down into turn number 1, there is a caution on the track. That's the 5th caution. Ungaius holding up his hand as he comes around, indicating to the remainder of the field that they're out of the throttle. That air horn was down on the end of pit road that brought out the 5th caution of the day. And this is the 5th caution of the day. So yellow fever is really striking out here today, my friend.
It is.
Here's Ungaius still in first. And coming up, the Westchester Classic, Mark Hayes at 9 under, and Alan Tapey 7 under. We have 5 competitors at 6 under. And the concluding round today on CBS, the Westchester Classic, will be coming up next. An interesting afternoon of live coverage on CBS, with first this Milwaukee 200-mile event for United States Auto Club Championship automobiles, and then the Westchester Classic. For the 5th time today, we are under caution, and so far a total of 24 of the 200 laps have been run with the yellow light blinking.
Well, that's going to knock the average around, or knock it down quite a bit.
We're now going to get a flag next time by. I'm not too sure. We see a pit board up, and the word is they're now going to give them a green this time by. That would mean that on the 100th lap, the 5th caution of the day would be terminated. Lee Kunzman's car, number 90, is in the pits at the present time. Other than that, the pit road is absent from competitors. Now Kunzman's car is turned off. Just turned the engine off on that machine. There's the field on the back straightaway, coming into turn number 3 and preparing once again for a restart.
Danny Ongais is one of Danny Ongais' crewmen, Englishmen. You can see how Danny's made him turn grey.
Here's Ongais out in front, and there's John Cox slipping beneath Tom Sneva as the green came out to once again charge up and try to challenge Danny Ongais for first place. Mike Gilhousen has just pitted his automobile as we are under green. Back straightaway, Ongais first. John Cox second. AJ third. Boyd is just about 2.5 seconds down from your leader, Ongais, as he makes his mark in turn number 4 for the 112th time in this race. Gilhousen has come back on the track. Lee Kunzman is climbing out of his automobile. Kunzman will be the 5th retiree of the afternoon. Lee Kunzman, Guttenberg, Iowa, now out of this Bettenhausen Memorial Milwaukee 200. Leader at turn 3, Ongais. John Cox
hotly pursuing him. I must say that, speaking as your technical expert, I did think that Gordon's run with that 4-cylinder engine would be shorter lived than it has been. But the car is hanging right in there over the half-distance mark, and it'll be really interesting to see if he can maintain this tremendous challenge right to the end. I just can't see how he possibly can. But obviously, this is the sort of track he can. There's A.J. Foyt in 3rd place, only a matter of about 1.5 seconds behind the leader, and even closer than that, Gordon Johncock in 2nd place.
It's still an excellent race with 17 cars left on the course. Ongais first, John Cox second, and the red car of A.J. Foyt in 3rd. That gives you some idea of the interval between the front 3 in this final run of the year at Milwaukee for the United States Auto Club Championship Division. From here, it's on to California.
Certainly keeping the Hawaiian honest today, as I hope to be doing in about 2 weeks at Road Atlanta when we cross swords in another IMSA race on Labor Day, in fact.
The car just seems to quiver as it comes out of Ford.
Well, stiffly sprung over those bumps, great speed, they do. They really do quiver around. A lot more than people realize, in fact.
Rick Mears is in 4th. Mears in the 2nd Penske car is in 4th. Danny Ongais continues to pull it off here. Can he stay in front and set this remarkable pace in the heat, and with all these caution periods? There's an awful lot of on and off the throttle here at Milwaukee anyway. Rick Mears, the driver of the Penske car, showing himself in 3rd, AJ in 4th, and Al Unser is in 5th position. We'll be back with more live action from the Milwaukee 200 after this word from your local stations. Dick King, the head of the United States Auto Club, just went over and had a word with the Danny Ongais crew. Gave them kind of a thumbs up about something, but the conversation went on, and there's been a pit board out here for the past couple of laps on Ongais in front, looking for win number 4 of the season. Here he is still another time out in front. Cookie, this Ford Cosworth, the Interscope car entered by Ted Field. Gordon Johncock persistently holds on in 2nd place and tries to find just enough to run on him. Or is Johncock waiting it out for the finish?
Well, maybe he is. It depends entirely on the amount of fuel he's using. I would think that for him to maintain this pace in that car, he's running a lot of boost through that turbocharger, which means he's using a lot of fuel, and he could run out. Obviously, the same could apply to Danny Ongais.
John Cox seems to be able to come off the turns a little lower than Ongais.
They both take that incredibly low line into turn 1. Right in the middle, Gordon John Cox slides out and uses a little bit more road than Danny, but of course that's just the setting of the chassis. There you see the interval. Not very much. Tick of a watch, in fact.
They're averaging 124.138 miles per hour as they completed the 121st lap. Here they are coming about for the 122nd and about to overtake Spike Gilhousen still another time. The interval fluctuating between a second and maybe a car length here as they come off turn number 4.
This, of course, could, in fact, mess Danny up rather, because Spike Gilhousen's car is, in fact, going quite well. He qualified pretty well up yesterday.
He went around him, just shot out of a cannon.
Well, that's Spike. Of course, he made it easy for him, which is good.
The third place car is reported as A.J. Foyt. The fourth place car is Mears. And in fifth, lap down, is Unser.
Al Unser, that is.
Al Unser. Bobby Unser has retired.
Right.
Bobby Unser, one of the early retirees from the event. 5 cars now out, 17 remaining.
Soon we're going to be talking about 4 Unsers, because there's Bobby's younger son is in the Formula Super B race here, and of course, as you've already said, Al Unser's younger son is winning in dirt track races. So we've got 4 Unsers competing on the tracks of America at the moment.
Laquasco being lapped by Ongais. That is a darty car.
Yeah, very. Well, it certainly darts around this track to great effect, much to Daniel's pleasure.
I still wonder how anyone from Samoa ended up as a USAC championship car driver. There's A.J. Foyt running third. Currently third on the field, A.J., and making up time. For sure he would be leading this race now without that pit stop situation. Again, they hold all the cars on the track and then give them a board that says pit. A.J. got in front of the board by a lap, and
well, it's
sure there'll be a chat about that when it's over.
It certainly looked a bit suspicious to me. He certainly did come in before anybody else had even thought about it. There they go by your actual Johnny Rutherford, I believe, in car number 4. Putting yet another lap on Johnny, who started off 2 down with a disastrous spin at the first turn on the first lap. No, it's not Johnny Rutherford.
Rutherford is still reported in 10th position overall in the race.
Sheldon Kinzer in car number 24. Another Offie engine car.
Rutherford 2 laps down, back there in 10th. Leader Ongais, second John Cox, who just can't quite deal with the power and the handling thus far in the race of Danny Ongais, but that could change. Incidentally, there may be some changes in USAC. We alluded to them in the beginning of today's broadcast. Getting ready to lap Cliff Huckel again is Ongais. And the board meets in early September. I believe it's right after the Cal 500 to discuss some changes in USAC's regulations on engines. Want to talk about that for a moment, David?
Well, the changes they're thinking about doing is lowering the boost. These cars, they can run at what they call 75 inches of boost, which is 75 inches of mercury or 1.5 atmospheres of pressure. The lower the boost, the more it affects the smaller 4-cylinder engine. And they're talking, in fact, about lowering the boost even more and making them run at a maximum of 75 inches, but giving them more fuel. They can run at 1.5 miles per gallon instead of the moment, which is 1.8. Now, if they 1.2. Now, if they do that, in fact, it'll be even worse for the 4-cylinder engines than it is at the moment.
That's exactly what Gordon Johncock told me before the race. He said it would make it worse and would spell the demise of the 4-cylinder.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, by adding more fuel to these cars, it would make the engines more reliable. There would be even less attrition than there is at the moment, which, of course, is good for racing. It's less expensive. You don't have to buy so many spare parts. It's good for the crowd because more cars are in there racing throughout the race. And, of course, it's better for us. We get a better show. It's better for everybody. So I think it's a good rule, but there's a lot of doubt at the moment whether it's going to pass the main board of USAC.
It's so difficult when you deal with such sophisticated racing cars to come up with any kind of a formula that makes it the same when there are some various engines.
Of course, racing can never be fair for everybody. We chose to do the IMSA series in the BMW, which is a 2-litre or 120 cubic inch car, and we're up against the Porsches, which are 180 cubic inches. And it's very tough for us to win. It isn't fair, but what are we going to do about it? I mean, you know, you go into these things with your eyes open. The rules are the same for everybody.
I thought you drove over the curb, David. I thought that's why you did it.
Well, of course, I have to tie it to the ground to give the other guys a fair chance. People like Danny Ongais and Peter Gregg. Otherwise, we'd do quite well.
Well, Danny Ungaius needs little help out here today. He is still out in front. The question is, can he stay there? Is Gordon Johncock playing a waiting game for the finish of this Milwaukee 200? Danny Ungaius in front. It was Jack Beckley who was out here a few moments ago talking with the Ungaius crew. Whatever it is, it's still A-OK as far as that machine is concerned. The Samoan is leading here in the Bettenhausen Memorial, live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With Brock Yates, David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire, and that is your leader. Meanwhile, we have a scrimmage for second place another time. A.J. Foyt is in a little bit of a dice. Rick Mears has turned up his car, number 7, and is going after A.J. There you see A.J. He is third, and directly behind him, that's Sneva in front, and then behind A.J. comes young Rick Mears, who has been closing some ground of recent. There's Mears in the number 7, coming down to the inside the main straightaway.
We could have a bit of classic teamwork here. Tom Sneva is ostensibly out of this race, to all intents and purposes, with that long stop. And he is in front of Foyt. Rick Mears is behind him. Is Sneva, in fact, going to really put it to Foyt and hold him up to let Rick Mears catch him up and possibly pass him? We've already seen these two have two tremendous races earlier on.
Now there's Foyt. That is your car in third position. And there you see, as they come off turn 4, the man in fourth right behind him in the second red, white, and blue car. There is the Sneva car just in front of Foyt, and then the man he is battling with, Rick Mears. I don't think Sneva would want to play that game with A.J.
I don't think he would either. Might get a punch.
A.J. had dropped back a little here about 3 laps ago. We are in the 137 of 200 laps, and here they are in lap traffic. Let's see if Mears can make up some ground with the red automobile of A.J. Foyt. You're watching the battle for third. And off into the pits comes Sneva. Sneva is pitting.
And so is A.J. No.
Down the main straightaway they come, putting a lap on Tom Bigelow. Crew goes to work on Sneva's car. Meanwhile, the struggle for third position in the race goes to turn 3. It's been a hot afternoon. Sitting there in the car is hotter than anything else that can be happening to you. Here's the car back on the track once again. First 4 cars have remained in the same order in the last 40 laps. We may be getting ready for a change in that situation right about now. Foyt's number 14, and here once again is the automobile of Ungaius, having to try the inside and the outside to get around Cannon. Really took it up to the wall.
Yeah, he pulled it off though pretty easy, and he's streaking away. He has increased his lead over Gordon Johncock now to nearly the full length of the back straightaway. But of course, at this sort of speed in terms of time, that's still nothing. A.J. Foyt.
Al Unser has just pitted number 2. Al Unser has brought number 2 into the pits. This, I presume, let's see, there'll be one more stop, right?
I would think so, yeah.
One more stop in the race. For fuel.
Another 60 laps to go as yet. They can do somewhere in the region of 55 laps or whatever. So one more stop, assuming it stays green.
Al Unser's away in 13.5 seconds. Up in turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Foyt trying to get through some lapped automobiles. Here's Ungaius, leader. Then Foyt still in third place. You're going to find creeping, crawling along behind him comes Rick Mears. Now there's Mears, and Mears has gained a bit of ground this time. An excellent battle going on for third spot.
Rick Mears, of course, winning the last race to be held here at Milwaukee on June the 18th.
Then adding Atlanta. It's just sensational for a driver that really had not that much experience. Roger Penske thought he had it, and his younger brother, Roger Mears, or older brother by a year actually, is now in the Mini Indy Series and coming along very, very well. Foyt out of turn number 4.
AJ's car looks pretty smooth going through turn 4. He doesn't seem to be using much road going through turn 1 and 2, staying down below the yellow line and staying close to it all the way through the corner. The car looks to be handling pretty well. He also has got a V8 engine, although of course it's his own engine, not like the Cosworth Ford, which is from England originally. And there's Rick Mears with a Cosworth engine car, hanging right onto AJ Foyt.
143rd lap has been noted, and this is where they're doing the tighten up right now. A.J. Foyt and Rick Mears getting into it for third spot.
Plus one.
Meanwhile,
back in the lead, there's Danny Ungaius. Coming through turn 4, well in the lead, well in control. The car dipping and diving through traffic. Danny having a relatively easy afternoon.
So on Gaius has it in first. Gordon Johncock is still in second. A.J. Foyt has a very light hold on third spot with Rick Mears in fourth with 144. The 200 laps complete in the Milwaukee 200. So 147 laps are complete. The leaders are coming in. A.J. Foyt has just elected to pit his automobile. Steve Krisseloff is also coming in. This is under green. There have been 5 cautions thus far today. The worst incident of the afternoon, Dick Simon crashing severely in turn number 1. He was all right. Here's your leader, Danny Gaius, who should be pitting either this or the next time by. Out of 4. You're watching the leader, Danny Gaius
coming into the pits.
Gaius is in. Cliff Hugel coming out just in front of him.
A.J. Foyt made about a 14-second stop then, a good stop. Keep him in third position.
13 and 4/10 seconds on A.J. On Gaius. 8, 9, 10 seconds still ticking away. Checking the tires. 14, 15, 17, and away. 17-7 for Danny Gaius. It'll be critical on Gordon Johncock, and Johncock is coming into pits. Second place man is in the pits. Remember, 17 and 7/10 of a second for the fuel into Danny Gaius' automobile.
And Danny was 5 seconds in front before, and a 17-second pit stop is a long one. There we see the seconds ticking away.
Acapella here today. Pushed and out in 18-7. No advantage collected there.
Not at all. There's Tom Bigelow coming in behind him. All these stops on green are pretty hair-raising business. This is where the emphasis in both USAC racing and NASCAR racing is put on the crew, something we don't get much in road racing, either in Formula 1 or even in IMSA racing. You don't make many pit stops. These guys, the pit crew is all important.
Rick Mears, number 7, and he has not pitted. He becomes your leader. Mears has yet to pit.
He must be about to pit, surely. Any second now.
We are 3/4 of the way through this War and Peace novel being written in Milwaukee today. Coming down the straightaway, Mears and the Penske PC6 completes another lap.
I was going to say that earlier on we saw his teammate.
Brock Yates is standing by with the driver who had the worst shunt of the afternoon. Let's go to Brock Yates and Dick Simon.
Ken, I've got Dick Simon with me, who supplied us, as you say, with the only real hairy moment this afternoon. Dick, it looked like something broke. Was that the problem?
Well, Brock, the car, as you know, Law Machine sponsored it, or is sponsoring it, and basically we qualified 9th. We looked good the first few laps, and the car was handling perfect, and then it started to go away. And we found out, basically, after inspecting it, the tire on the right rear went bad and blew out, and it made a right turn on me, and I just couldn't stop it, Brock, and I went right in the wall.
You never want to turn right here, do you?
Pardon, I didn't say
you never want to turn right at Milwaukee, do you?
No, you don't. It's a hard one. I hit the wall at over 150 miles an hour, and I know our sponsor, La Machine, is expecting us to be in Trenton at the Ontario race, and we're going to do everything we can, Brock, to get that car back in shape, although I did break it in half.
You didn't break anything in yourself, though, fortunately.
No, the good Lord was with me, and physically I'm in top shape right now, other than a few sore muscles.
Dick Simon, you'll be back. Thank you, Dick.
Rick Mears, number 7. The question is when. Meanwhile, the question is, Gordon Johncock, what's wrong? There seems to be some problems. When he came in, he gave the signal the car was pushing. He wanted an adjustment made. Johnny Rutherford just pitting, and they didn't have a chance to make the chassis adjustment on the Johncock car, which had been running for a long time, consistently in second place, now being shown in third. There's Johncock in the number 20 automobile, and now Cannon comes down the main straightaway very slowly. You can see him on the bottom of your screen there, running about 30, 40 miles an hour as they went into turn number 1. That could spell the end of the day for Boom Boom.
Could well have run out of gas, actually, or out of petrol. Out of fuel.
Out of fuel.
I was saying, petrol. Don't have that over here. Gordon Johncock lying at the moment in third position behind Danny Gaius, who's second.
That's AJ pulling up. There is Cannon's car out of the race. A.J. Foyt is going side by side with Gordon Johncock into turn number 1.
That is now the race for third spot. Must be for second spot, because surely Rick Mears will have to pit for alcohol very soon.
AJ moves in again on an ill-handling George Bignotti automobile from the Pat Patrick Racing Team, number 20.
I find it difficult to believe that it handles all that badly. It can't be going too badly. He's maintaining second position.
Back to turn number 1. Dollenbach, number 6 in the pits.
Another Cosworth engine. Of course, Wally made the move last year away from George Bignotti in the 4-cylinder engines to Judd here with his 8-cylinder number 6 Silverite Prune Special. He's done quite well. He's lying third in the championship at the moment, in fact. Again, with consistent finishes, but he is a power spinner at this track here at Milwaukee.
157 laps complete.
Judd Phillips is his crew chief. Here's Rick Mears. Is he coming into the pits this lap?
No.
No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. And
there he
comes
is.
Rick Mears, relinquishing the lead to a stranger. The first man to lead this race is Danny Ongaias. How unusual.
Ongaias back to first. Into second goes number 20.
No tire changes, though. Just fuel.
John Cock is second.
Rick Mears still waiting for the fuel to get 13 seconds, the quickest one we've timed. That will gain him 5 seconds on Gordon Johncock and, of course, on Danny Ongaias.
He made that stop on the 158th of the 200 laps. Coming back up to speed.
Being passed by Wally Dollenbach, who's already back to speed. Now, he could be difficult to pass. If Wally made any chassis changes on that pit stop, maybe he'll be a bit more difficult to pass than Rick can handle at staying for the race.
So Danny Ongaias still has it his own way. All you have to do is make a mistake by about 1/8 of an inch with a steering wheel here, and that will wrap this car up for a day.
It might wrap it up for a week or two.
Or 2 or 3. But for this day, for sure. And Ongaias is just not making any mistakes. So that car has the quakes and quivers. So it's out there in California these days. There's your leader going into turn number 1.
Danny Ongaias.
The car was built in Santa Barbara the way it's running these days. Here he is in the back straightaway. Just vibrating. That car has so much power, about 700 horsepower being put to use here as he goes into turn number 3.
Well, I was going to say at least 700. These cars, these engines dyno out in these workshops at round about 900 horsepower, but they don't race with that. They tune them down a bit to somewhere in the region of 750 to 800. They give a lot of power.
Now, second place is Gordon Johncock, and he's coming out of turn number 4, and he's being pushed right to the wall and stopped. He was held up by car number 92, Al LaQuesto, and A.J. Foyt made a move on the inside. LaQuesto came across, and there is the skirmish going on. Johncock finally pulls away a bit from A.J. Foyt, but A.J. closed right up on the rear end of car number 20.
And that was Tom Sneaver we just saw edging into the picture just behind A.J. Foyt there.
Remember, Sneeva's several laps down if you're just joining us. Sneeva is a few laps down. He had some turbo problems earlier and had to pit. There's second and third. The blue car, number 20, Johncock. The red car, A.J. Foyt, is your third place automobile, with Rick Mears running in fourth, and in fifth is Al Unser.
There's Tom Sneaver coming up behind A.J. Foyt again.
Still 4 cars in the lead lap. Cliff Huckel in front of the leader, doing an interval between the first and second place automobile. Coming to the stripe, cross down to the turn number 1, and it's a 9 6/10 of a second advantage for the leader,
which is about the biggest lead he's had all afternoon. That last pit stop, he gained a second on Gordon in the stop, and has obviously picked up some time somewhere else as well. He's really going well. Look at that tight line inside that car, which he's lapping here again. Car swirling around a bit, but that doesn't worry Danny Ongaias. He likes a bit of sideways motoring. He really does.
36 laps to go. He always seems just on the very edge of control, just sliding a little bit when he's on an oval. What about in road racing?
Well, he's just the same, but last year we had a race in the wet at Mid-Ohio, and I followed him for 6 laps. Obviously, I passed him, but I mean, until that time, he was absolutely sideways.
Let's go to Brock Yates in the pits.
Ken, as you can see behind me is George Bignotti and the rest of the Gordon Johncock crew. I asked George whether or not his man was actually having troubles. David had speculated earlier that maybe he was slowing down or had some handling problems. He said no. He said Danny Ongaias is just flat running too fast for him. However, he also said that he felt that A.J. Foyt did not stop long enough, and there might be some further discussion about about that after this race is over, especially if A.J. manages to pass Gordon and finish ahead. Up to you.
Well, that was my opinion too. I thought that A.J. should have stopped, been made to stop for a lap, because he did in fact gain a lap on everybody else.
Last lap on Daniel Gaius was turned at a speed of 128.571 miles per hour as he leads with the biggest margin of the day over Gordon Johncock in second, A.J. Foyt third. Well, Daniel Gaius is continuing to lap things. He's just about put a lap on everything out here but the turn of the century today. He's been all over this racetrack, and there are only 3 other cars in the same lap with on Gaius, number 25, as he scoots down the back straightaway. Here's a guy there. There's Kristeloff. He's in 6th. Remember, he's the teammate of Gordon Johncock in the Pat Patrick team. He's holding on in 6th position now with car number 40. He was up into 3rd earlier today. He's now shown as 2 laps down. Steve Kristeloff of Parsippany, New Jersey, running in the 6th position on Gaius out in front. His advantage about 9 seconds over the second place car, number 20, Gordon Johncock in 2nd. And the dice would seem to be there. Back in 2nd place on Gaius, for the moment, has at least half of a breath between himself and the 2nd place car. Here's some lap cars, and there's a caution on the track. There is a caution on the track. Yellow is coming out as Gaius comes down. We have 1 car spinning. Gilhausen, number 19, is in trouble in turn number 2. Spike Gilhausen has had trouble in turn number 3. On the outside of the 3rd turn is the Gilhausen car. Caution is on for the 6th time this afternoon.
There's a car, number 43. Tom Bigelow just pulled into the pits. He'll get his what's it chewed out by Dick King, no doubt. Oh, he's gone right through, pretending he didn't see the flag. A.J. Foyt was making ground also on your actual Gordon Johncock there, which makes Brock's last report even more important. He is in fact catching up with Gordon Johncock.
172 laps complete. There aren't that many laps to go now at the Westchester Classic, which you'll be seeing later today. It's Hayes currently in front with the 9 strokes, and then Tapey is 2nd, 2 down, tied with Lee Elder, and Elder has really come on. Remember, he was down there when they started today, 6 away, and he's pulled himself up into being a top contender in the Westchester Classic. And you'll see that later this afternoon on CBS. We're under caution at Milwaukee, Wisconsin in this USAC championship race for the 6th time today. The 6th caution of the day was put out for car number 19, Gilhausen, after he spun in turn 3 here at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 6th caution of the afternoon. Don't forget the NFL Today next Sunday here on CBS. CBS Sports Emmy Award-winning team back all together again with a new face. Jane Kennedy joins Brent Musburger and Herb Cross. The NFL Today will air from 1:30 to 1:45 Eastern Time, followed by the games, the NFL preseason Cleveland Brown versus New England Patriots contest. Gilhausen's car being taken away. 7 cars are out of the race. Up here in the booth with us for a moment is the 1978 International Motorsports Association champion and victorious so many times in the great endurance race at Daytona, Peter Gregg. And it's interesting to see you and Hurley Haywood, your old teammate here. For why are you guys around at Milwaukee, Wisconsin on a warm afternoon? You road race folk.
Well, Ken, we're excited about this type of racing, and we're seriously thinking of it in the future. It's the excitement today and the enthusiasm of the crowd can give you the reasons why we're here.
So does that mean we may see Peter Gregg in an Indianapolis car?
No, I don't think I'm going to drive in Indianapolis, but we might put a team together, and Hurley Haywood might be our driver if we do.
And that would be for 1979?
I would say not. Perhaps longer in the future than that.
Well, congratulations to you on your victory this year. And how much trouble did Hobbs give you?
Hobbs is tough everywhere. His car is terrific, and the BMW runs great. And next Sunday at Mid-Ohio, I hope he's behind me and not ahead of me after the green flag falls.
Nice of you to drop by for a moment. We look forward to seeing one of your teams. You always put together really top, efficient teams. This kind of looks like a Peter Gregg effort out here, these USAC cars.
It's a wonderful show, and I've been excited all afternoon. I think Danny's driving sensational, and what Gordon Johncock is doing with that 4-cylinder is exciting, too. So I'm going to go back to being a spectator now and just enjoy the end of the show.
From Jacksonville, Florida, Peter Gregg, one of the top road racers in America, who's looking very, very hard today here at these United States Auto Club Championship cars, and there could be a new team in the future. Huh? That'd get him off your back, Hobbs.
Yeah, it would actually, although knowing Peter, he'd probably do both. But he's got a good a good point. You know, he does run a tremendously good car, and of course the top running cars here in USAC are the same. You've only got to walk down pit lane and see the real winners right there. Penske's cars, Danny's car, tremendous turnout, well looked after, well thought out, and of course well driven.
Ready for green, and there remain 24 laps in this Bettenhausen Memorial, the Milwaukee, Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. And we're watching Danny Ungaius back in front. Can he stay there? He's gone cold over the past 2 or 3 months. It just hasn't worked out for him. Terribly frustrated. But now the frustration seems to be coming to an end. He goes down into turn number 3, and the shot's being taken for the lead by Ungaius with about a 2-second advantage as he comes off this caution period. 6-1 of the day. There's AJ making some moves down underneath.
There's Gordon Johncock climbing up to the field. Gordon had a tremendous slide going through turn 1, which I sneaked a grip over there.
Now let's reset the field for you.
AJ flashing by a back marker.
Number 7, Rick Mears, has pulled himself up through. Mears at number 7 on that exchange in the caution period while they were making some pit stops and getting back on the track. Mears is now shown as they come off. Ungaius is first. Rick Mears, number 7, indeed is in second. Then Johncock is in third. AJ is in fourth. As we get down to the finish, when they come around this time, just 20 laps, 20 miles to go. 33 laps under caution, 6 caution periods thus far. That's very near a record for this race. Here they are back in turn 3.
Danny Ungaius. Gosh, Danny Ungaius really getting loose there in turn 4. The track's probably getting slick in this heat, and with oil and rubber down on it, won't be helping it at all. And he's pulled out a tremendous lead in just a couple of laps.
Rick Mears, second place runner, 28 years old, the brilliant off-road racer from Southern California, who has looked just magnificent this season, winning 2 races thus far this year for the Roger Penske team. There's Mears, number 7.
Running a good strong second, although challenging him now is Gordon Johncock coming up behind.
Ungaius in front. Can he hold on for his 4th win of the season? We're going to know in 19 laps. He loves to go fast. There is a driver who simply enjoys any speed he can get.
Absolutely. He's a real racer. He just loves speed. He loves driving anything. He likes to, he will in fact drive anything, and of course he does a tremendous show in everything he does drive.
And there's a talk about him going back to Formula 1 again and taking another shot at that in 1979 or in 1980.
There's Rick Mears passing Sheldon Kinsler.
Trying to.
Laughing him, rather, not passing him.
Fine racing enthusiasts again at CBS will be bringing you the highlights of the United States Grand Prix from Watkins Glen, New York, the one that could decide it for Mario Andretti come October. The date for the event is October 1st. You'll see the highlights the following Saturday on CBS of what should be one of the titanic racing struggles of the year.
And I'm sure we'll see Danny there, too. He has a drive for that race, and I'm sure he'll do it.
Here's Ungaius, Hawaiian born, at Milwaukee, Wisconsin, edging out in front, picking up at least 2 car lengths a lap. There's number 7, Rick Mears, in second place. Can he hold on to it? Gordon Johncock is remaining third with A.J. Foyt in fourth. And if you're going to make any fancy moves, this is the time to do it. There is Rick Mears, a new face in United States Auto Club Championship racing. Had his opportunity come on a motorcycle ride at Wally Dallenbach, up in Colorado. Roger Penske impressed by him, so would you like to try out the car when Mario Andretti is off on the foreign shores in the battle for the World Championship? Rick couldn't wait for the opportunity, and he's proved himself. Penske has an innate sense about what a great driver is. Sneva, a fellow from up in the Northwest that the Northwest loved. Remember, he had that strange modified car a few years ago. 4-wheel drive, kind of sprint modified machine, and drove it so well nobody'd ever really known too much about Sneva. Penske picked him up, found him to be a great talent. He's done the same thing with this Mears.
Well, of course, part of the story there is not only does he make them a great talent. I mean, the talent is there, but it's got to be found, and you've got to have the right car. And of course, Roger Penske always turns out the right cars. There's no doubt about it. They're fantastic.
The Westchester Classic is coming up next live this afternoon here on CBS as the laps run down. 14 laps to go. Danny Ungaius really keeping the pedal down as he tries to build up an advantage at the end. He's not being conservative. He's running it all the way out, taking everything there is out of that automobile, really torturing the machine. Meanwhile,
what is interesting is that Gordon Johncock is not making much ground on Rick Mears, and in fact, of course, Tom Snever's nibbling away at him as well.
And there is
passes him.
Sneva getting a lap back, and AJ moves in. You remember McNaughty said earlier this afternoon that if AJ was in there, whoa, a good move by Johncock, way below the line, as he fires up and gets beneath Sheldon Kinzer. AJ could be contending for that position, the third position in the race when we get down to the finish. 4 cars remain in the lead lap. Al Unser is back in 5th, a lap down. Then in 6th is Krisaloff. Running in 7th behind these leaders is Wally Dallenbach. And Johnny Rutherford is up to 8th. We'll be back with a finish shortly.
Even on a practice lap
To go, and there's the interval between the 3rd and 4th place cars. Gordon Johncock in 3rd, A.J. Foyt is in 4th. Angaya still is on the point with the 2nd place car, Rick Mears. Those are the front 4. Al Unser is a lap down. A.J. continuing to work on.
Gordon Johncock's car looking decidedly squirrely coming through turn 4 there. AJ hanging right in there. Both of them cutting down terribly low going through turn 1 and 2, way below the yellow line. Seem to be pretty equal through that turn, although coming off it, Gordon Johncock in fact pulls away from that V8 engine car of A.J. Foyt.
Next week on the CBS Sports Spectacular, highlights of the Ali Spinks Heavyweight Championship. That's next Saturday, 4:30 Eastern. CBS Sports Spectacular presenting highlights of the fight and interviews with the principals involved. In addition, visiting both fighters in their training camps preparing for the upcoming rematch. Next Saturday on the CBS Sports Spectacular. Live here at Milwaukee, you're watching Gordon Johncock trying to fend off A.J. Foyt, the all-time winner in USAC racing for 3rd spot as Danny Ungaius continues to rip and roar through this field in the lead.
Danny Ungaius, in fact, has got nearly a 5-second lead now between himself and Rick Mears, and he turned the last lap at about 126 miles an hour, so he's still setting a blistering pace. A.J. Foyt closing in on Gordon Johncock there for 3rd spot.
If you're just joining us, a terrible crash midway through. Dick Simon at turn number 1. He is okay. The car cut in half. Early in the race, Johnny Rutherford spun, brought out the first caution in the very first lap. He's running a lap or 2 down, back in 8th position. AJ trying to move in here on Gordon Johncock. These two still slugging it out with the 3rd spot. Right to the wall goes Johncock. Eases into the first turn.
Of course, it's terribly unfortunate on Johnny Rutherford to be running an 8th at all after those 2 laps right at the start is pretty good. He would be right up there with these guys, I feel sure.
Very lucky not to be in the hospital because he spun while he was in like 5th or 6th position with the remainder of the field behind him, and they all made the right moves. Tremendous driving.
Yeah. There's our leader who's also doing some tremendous driving. Talk about CBS Sports Spectacular. This is a real sports spectacular going on here at Milwaukee Fairground this afternoon. Hot, sunny, perfect day for racing. Not too hot. AJ goes a bit wide there. Tried to get under Gordon Johncock, who chopped him off, and that made A.J. Foyt go a little bit wide, but making ground on him down the back straight there, coming into turn 3.
A.J. definitely making up some time as they move in on Todd Gibson's automobile. Here they are through turn number 3. A.J. seems to have the power. You can almost see it surge as it came down that straightaway. Time running out.
They're both definitely driving pretty hard here because they make ground at different places on different laps, so they really are both straining pretty tightly at the leash here to get by each other.
Back to 160 miles per hour in the back straightaway of this 1-mile track, and then easing back on the throttle. Exactly the proper distance. Foyt closes the ground a little as Johncock was a bit high in 3.
AJ making ground there. If he can maintain that down the front straightaway, he could have a shot at passing it. There's our leader, Danny Ungaius. Blithely going on. 3 laps to go only left in this 200-mile race at Milwaukee.
Well, whatever the gremlins were, they have been destroyed with this Ungaius car. We hope.
You remember the comments of Colin Chapman before the British Grand Prix when both his cars were out from the front row.
2.5 laps to go. Now 2 laps to go as this one gets down toward a finish. It's still Ungaius first. Rick Mears in second. The battle is between Gordon Johncock and A.J. Foyt, a 4-cylinder car in third, and one of the Foyt Coyotes. Foyt not with a Ford Cosworth, but with his own product, of his own ingenuity and genius. And one of the Gilmore cars, didn't see Jim Gilmore here this weekend. If you're watching, hope you're enjoying the race today up there in Michigan. White flag, 1 lap to go.
Already this year, Danny Ungaius has led 455 laps in USAC competition, nearly twice as many as his runner-up Gordon Johncock. At the end of the day, he'll have led over 600 laps of competition. A fantastic achievement thus far in the season.
Final lap for Ungaius. Here he comes to turn 3. Danny Ungaius coming to turn number 4. Race has been lengthened by caution. No records here. Danny Ungaius wins his 4th United States Auto Club Championship bout of the 1977 season here, 78 season, at this wonderful facility in Milwaukee. On this mile track, Danny Ungaius comes to the line, flashes home first this afternoon. The 78 campaign rolling to its 12th event, and Ungaius has won by 5 seconds. Finishing in 2nd place this afternoon is the 2-time winner this season, Rick Mears. 3rd spot across the line, Gordon Johncock. A.J. Foyt was 4th, and Al Unser came across in the 5th position. In the retiree list of the 22 that started, Bettenhausen, Simon, Unser, Parsons, Kuntzman, Larry Cannon, Gilhausen were the cars that fell by the wayside. There are the final standings. Ungaius first. There's Mears, your 2nd place competitor, coming in. Gordon Johncock finishes in 3rd. A.J. Foyt is 4th. Unser winds it up in 5th today. Gathered around the winner, Danny Ungaius for Brock Yates and David Hobbs. That's the story here this afternoon as we get ready to move to the Westchester Classic. Danny Ungaius wins the Milwaukee 200.
Today's CBS Sports Special, the Milwaukee 200, has been sponsored by Schlitz. Beer makes it good, Schlitz makes it great. Sears Die-Hard batteries with starting power you can count on. And by Radio Shack, a Tandy company, the nationwide supermarket of sound. The Milwaukee 200 has been a presentation of CBS Sports.